In this slideshow video, we will illustrate and explain how to change the cord in umbrella frames after they have broken. It would be a pretty long video to try to explain all the different details of different types of umbrella frames and the cords, but we'll go through a number of the basics that cover quite a bit of the umbrellas that are out there today and a lot of the basics on how to replace the cord. Here we have some basic tools used to help in the installation of a replacement umbrella cord. There could be other tools necessary, and some will be mentioned other than what is seen here. But you do see we have the replacement cord here, which of course is available through Patio Furniture Rehab. We sell these in 10-foot long cords, and it does work on many of or most of the umbrellas out there today, the market and garden umbrellas. 10 foot is usually sufficient, and you'll probably have excess and have to cut some off in the end of the installation. We also sell these in 50-foot cord length, which can be used on a number of different umbrellas, and of course you can get this at a lower cost that way. A wire that you can turn into a hook can be helpful, as you'll see through this video, to help you working with the cord in the umbrella frame. Then of course you have your Phillips screwdriver, used often in the umbrella casings and other parts of the umbrella at times. You have a lighter, which will help to remove the frays at the end of the cord. The nylon cord will tend to fray, and it makes it so that you can melt it together, so to speak, so that it'll have more of a pointed end and then prevent fraying as well. And of course you have needle nose pliers can be helpful in some of this, and you also have here what you see in this Staples package is it's sort of like a gum material. This is found in office supply stores, also called simply reusable adhesive, of course used to stick things to the wall or any other place, but in this case you'll see how we use it to help you with the umbrella cord installation. Another tool that may be needed on certain umbrellas is the ratchet and socket, used to remove the nut on the shaft that holds the cord and turns the cord to crank it up. In this first illustration, we'll show you how to open the casing of a Finkel umbrella, and how that we can take the casing off and remove the shaft and work with the cord from there. On this type of casing, you'll find a piece of material, usually aluminum, sometimes cardboard, that has been glued over the casing, which covers actually the way this is bolted together. This can be removed by a razor, carefully using a razor of course, to help you lift it to start with because of the adhesive on it, and then you might get a screwdriver, sharp end screwdriver, and carefully pry it up, trying to keep it in fair condition as you do, because you can re-glue it back on there for covering it again. Now that we've removed this covering, you see how this casing is held together. There's a bolt in the middle, which of course goes on the shaft of the crank, and that can be removed. And then there's the two Phillips screws that holds the two sides of the casing together. First, you can remove the two Phillips screws on each side, and you take the proper size socket and insert it in the hole in the center where the bolt is, and holding on to the shaft on the crank on the other side, you remove this bolt completely. Now we'll jump to the illustration of another type of casing and how it is removed. This one has a couple of rings on the top and the bottom of the casing. These rings have to be removed, pulled down and up in order to remove this casing. You can take a fine screwdriver very carefully, because the plastic may be a little brittle if you're not careful, and just carefully pry the ring off. In some cases they screw off, but in this case I'm showing you here, you have to pry it off, and you work your way around the ring a little bit if you have to until the whole thing's pried off on both the top and the bottom, and then you will find that the casing will pull apart. Of course, when you're working with these umbrellas, one of the best things to remember, as it goes with many things, that in the reverse order of the way you disassembled it, you will reassemble it. So if you can recall how each part was taken off, then of course you can know how it's put back on and in what order. This next illustration is fairly common. Either 2 or 4 screws that are holding the 2 sides of the casing on the umbrella together. These are usually removed with a Phillips screwdriver, and sometimes you have to be careful that you don't strip them out with the Phillips screwdriver as you're working with them. Otherwise that can be a real problem, because you might have to drill it out or break it out and then replace it. But once you have these Phillips screws out, you should be able to disassemble the outer casing. On the example of this umbrella, we're going to go further because it's a little more complicated and involved. As mentioned earlier, just remember the way that you disassemble it. You want to remember how the parts are removed so that you can replace them in the reverse order and in the same way that they were on there. The first thing to do to remove the shaft from this umbrella is to, of course, straighten and remove the cotter pin, and then remove the nut. Remembering how each part is removed, then you take all these parts off. Now, this is where it might get a little more complicated. The type of crank that I just showed you the inside of and how to remove some of it doesn't even need to be removed on some umbrellas. In fact, you cannot remove it in order to replace the cord. It just doesn't. It's not possible because it's riveted in. Unless you remove the rivet that holds the shaft outside piece that's holding the shaft in place, this cannot be removed, and you have to install the cord another way, which I'm about to illustrate. This is where this is probably one of the most complicated illustrations I'm giving here. There'll be illustrations at the end of this video showing some of the more simpler installations, which probably are most common, but you might have this type too, so that's where I'm making this one a little more extensive. In some cases you'll have to remove the button that is on the bottom of the umbrella. And be careful, as in some cases the button is spring loaded on the spring and it might fly off if you don't catch it at the end of the pole before it exits. Now we're looking at the part of the umbrella on the pole that pulls the ribs up. On this, a lot of times the ring here will unscrew. Sometimes it can be a little difficult to unscrew. Sometimes you have to push the ribs down out of the way, because the way it's designed, it'll kind of catch on the ribs as you're trying to unscrew it, and you'll wonder why it's so tight and how to even do it. So you push these ribs down and then unscrew it, then it should come off. However, the old cord is installed on the umbrella. Of course, you want to watch that so you know how to apply any of these illustrations. But you want to remove that old cord from the frame entirely, both from the shaft end and then from this end here. I know that these illustrations and explanations of this are a bit mixed, but I'm hoping that our customers will be able to draw from the particular information that they see within this, and then they'll find that they'll be able to replace the cord on their particular umbrella. Because of the length of this video, we're going to go into a part 2 just after this. This is now the end of part 1.